Before we get to those weird demands, what's the latest? Are gamers able to go online now on this very important day for Microsoft and Sony?
Well, Corey, the latest is that Microsoft's online gaming service is mostly back up. They're experiencing intermittent outages. Sony's network is still having problems, as it has for for over the past 24 hours. So there are a lot of gamers who got a PlayStation or an Xbox for Christmas that can't get online.
Well, and a lot of gamers who thought they were going to have a day off to play all day who couldn't do it as well. You know, Sony, as you may have heard, Jordan, has had some hacking problems in the past, maybe in the present. Is this related at all to what was going on with North Korea as Microsoft been pulled into the fray?
It's a very interesting question because we reported a few days ago on a very interesting cybersecurity intelligence firm's report about some overlap between the Lizard Squad, which is the group that is claiming credit now for taking out Sony and Microsoft's gaming networks, and the Guardians of Peace, which was the hacking group that was disseminating the stolen Sony emails. It's not definitive proof of a connection, but it does show that these groups share a lot of similarities, and uncertain right now whether they were the same groups, but it does point to similar motivations. The key one being Sony's been hated by a lot of people online for a long time. The better part of the past decade, they've been attacked by hackers for all sorts of reasons, mostly their enforcement of copyright protections, aggressive enforcement of copyright protections.
Well, what do you mean? Why has that drawn the ire of these hackers?
Well, it seems to come up every year, and it kind of comes up at random times. But a lot of the hackers' hatred of Sony, came about, as I say, about a decade ago. One of the earliest examples was Sony shipped music CDs with some software on them that would modify users' computers, and it was about 2005, 2006, and obviously. Yeah, and it's continued. Then they sued a computer security researcher who was looking into vulnerabilities on the PlayStation 3. So that angered a lot of people. They've just been kind of in the forefront of enforcing their copyrights, and they've angered a lot of gamers in the process and a lot of hacktivists. The irony of this latest attack, though, is that the Lizard Squad and fellow hackers, a lot of these guys are gamers themselves, so they purport to be acting in the interest of fellow gamers. But clearly, over the last 24 or 48 hours, a lot of their fellow gamers haven't been able to get online.
Well, they're just jacking up their own scores when no one else can play. I wondered, Jordan, specifically about these overlaps, and we don't have a lot of time, but what are the things that are similar between the hackers that we know took down Sony and came from North Korea, or looked like they came from North Korea, and the new Lizard Squad group?
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. There's this cybersecurity firm out of Los Angeles called Intel Crawler that provided us some interesting data. And number one, they use a lot of similar slang. Number two, and language. Number two, they cross-post on each other's social media sites. So a lot of what these guys do is promote themselves through Twitter and other social media, and there's a lot of cross-posting, and there's a lot of kind of cross-pollination of messages and of sharing links and things like that. And there are more similarities than there are differences in some cases.